Happy Thursday, brother. How are you?
Yo, I'm good, sister. How about you?
I'm awesome. I'm awesome. I'm at a work retreat. I'm getting them Marriott Bonvoy points.
What is that thing you got on your head?
What are you talking about? I wore it
What is
just
that on
for
your
you.
head, girl?
Well, before we dive into that, let's welcome everybody back to the Rose Garden. I'm Sarita. I'm one half of this sibling co-host pair, and there's my disgusting brother who doesn't even know how to greet his sister in her charming way. I have been at this work retreat, and it is intentional about being authentic to who you are. So I got my hair wet today, and I am now wrapping my hair because I'm a short haired woman. So I got to be wearing a little wrap. You don't think it's cute?
Um, no comment. No comment.
That is the worst thing you can do to a black woman. Our hair is such a big part of our reality. And I want you to know that this wrap is something, it's an accoutrement. It makes it so that the hair stays flat. It makes it so that I can, enjoy the heat and water and things like that without not lowering, like not being walking around with a bouffant on my head. You definitely have to appreciate that.
Man, you sure you had a work routine? You sound like a party back there.
Well, a part of this retreat is to really kind of set new strategy and also like be as open with ourselves as possible. So, these are people who've never seen my hair in the raw like this. I stay at the hairdresser. I'm there every other week. Thank God to Katina who keeps me together. Um, so these people haven't seen me with my hair sticking up all over my head. So
Well,
the
shout
start
out to Bunny for his birthday. It's Bunny's birthday today, so give
is
him a
it his
big
birthday today? Is
happy
he
birthday
listening?
shout out.
We could sing to him. Would he like me? And you know what? Bunny would appreciate my hair and my rap.
Bunny, Bunny would be like, "What's you doing out there in public with that thing
No,
on your head?"
Bunny would appreciate my hair and my rap, and everybody else online. You jump in and let everybody know how good this rap looks. Listen, this rap is tried and true. This one keeps listen. The ladies will understand. It keeps them sides together. It keeps the back straight. As soon as I peel this off, I'm gonna be ready for showtime.
I feel you on that. Well, look, another happy birthday shout out to Siobhan Yancey. Um, it's not today. It was I think a day ago or so. But big shout out to her too.
All these Aries, my birthday's in a couple of days. You should be shouting me out too.
Oh, these crazy Aries,
That's why I
You an
like
April
Bunny.
Fool's baby. How
That's
is
why
it?
I
How is
like
it to be on there? It's like it's my birthday. Psych, April Fool. I got you some gifts. Not really. You know what I mean? April Fools.
April Fool. That's it's funny because people always, whenever I say that, they're like, "Really? Is your birthday really that day?" Yes, it is really April
Mhm.
Fool's Day.
It
But you
is.
know
It's
what?
wild.
I'm so glad that you told me that Bunny's birthday was that he was the Aries because I mean, I like him, his intensity.
Hmm.
I like how serious he is. He's
Hmm.
passionate. He's fiery. He certainly meets
Yeah.
the mold of an Aries. So kudos to all the Aries
Yeah.
out
I
there.
didn't know. I didn't realize he was an Aries too. I was like, oh shoot. Let me find out.
He's sensitive. Look, he probably be crying in his sleep at night.
That'll give him a good laugh. You said that. I'm gonna tell him. I'm gonna reach out to him and tell
Yeah,
him.
he should be in the Rose Garden. You know what?
Yeah, we
Shout out.
should. We should get him in here. You know what I
Should be
mean?
in the road. And shout out to everybody who comes each week. I have a
Hmm.
whole bunch of stuff from the group chat. But we're gonna let you start because it seemed like you had an interesting week.
I was just thinking about relationships, and we go diving deep into relationships. But honestly, speaking about, just I think we left off in our previous one, just talking about how women are psychological and emotional terrorists. You know what I mean?
That's what you heard
It's
from
like
the last
it's like it's like it's like it's like to me like mentally and emotionally. It seems to me that the female gender wants to rock the boat to see, to get reactions and responses, to just get a temperature check, to see where the man is at. But that's really distracting and disruptive and disturbing. You know what I mean? you
Well,
know, I
it's
had a
interesting that
conversation
you
with.
have all these subliminal messages being sent your way.
Well, it's crazy because I was just thinking about again the fundamental uh, essential properties of building like a healthy relationship. And I was talking to our mother, and I was just letting her know that in my life, when you talk about this quote unquote love, how I have been experiencing it from a genuine perspective is actually from the deep connections I had with men in my life. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
not necessarily from the women in my life, even though the relationship I have with a woman, if it's romantic, would definitely be much more intimate, right? Supposedly. But it's like, in my life I've had these experiences where, I'm going through extreme circumstance, and I just so happen that I might have uh, a man and a woman that's going through it with me in the terms of just being there for me to support me in it. And how connected the male is inside the situation I'm going through, whereas the woman is so really disconnected from it. You know what I mean? And I just be thinking
But
to
do you think,
myself, like, yeah, go ahead.
I said, do you think that inside of those situations,
Hmm.
you're able to, because last week, one of the things you admitted was that men and women definitely communicate differently. So
Hmm.
it sounds like the way you communicate distress is familiar, understandable to the males in your life, but to the females in your life, you may not be communicating your distress in the same way.
Well, how come the man, if I'm communicating distress in a general way, how come the man is able to discern, perceive, and understand it, but the woman is not able to? What's
Well,
different in
could it
that
also?
sense?
I think what's different is you all speak the same language, right? So like, you
Right.
speak the same language. There's a brotherhood, there's a camaraderie. I'm gonna introduce you back to this point because you brought up about coming to my wedding as my brother in the last one, and how weird, I'll use your words, it was. So after the show, my husband said, your brother wasn't wrong about
Hmm.
that being it. From his perspective, he was like, he could have not been in the wedding if he truly didn't know me. So he was like, he wasn't wrong. In my emotional space at that
Ooh.
time, I didn't listen to the fact
Hmm.
that you weren't rejecting me, you were rejecting the position that I was elevating for him. Now, because my husband and I communicate so well, I was able to hear that very differently than you saying, it's weird that I want to be in my sister's wedding. Because what I kept hearing you was you were emphasizing your sister's wedding on the side of a man you didn't know, when for me, it was about you being there for me. But he heard that totally different. And when he brought to me how I had elevated a position for him, right? That he hadn't himself cultivated in terms of a relational kind of exchange, I heard that very differently. And so that's what I'm saying. Inside of all of that experience, you did not communicate that. You made it like, I shouldn't be in this wedding. I'm
No,
your
I didn't. I
brother,
didn't say that. Like, it's funny. It's like you said again. How a person, they say they got selective hearing and, and memory and stuff like this. What I said is what your husband heard, and he was able to grasp and understand. It's the same thing, but I think like the emotional. See, this is why I say women are psychological and emotional terrorists, right? They are. Because look, put it this way. I think that when you like fundamentally look at things, right? Have you ever seen these videos on the internet where they're talking about, well, why don't be upset if a woman has is masculine. Like, why are you uh, faulting a woman for being masculine when her life circumstances make her have to be, you know, where she has to be mother and father, and then she has to be working and do all this stuff, and she got to basically dwell and live inside of a man's world, and it makes her tough and more masculine. But the man who might got some romantic interest in her has a argument or is upset against that, and these women want to defend it because of this lifestyle or life situation they have. But my thought on that is, did that man who's making that statement have anything to do with the life circumstances scenario that you in? And if that's not the case, then why are you like, let's just say, if for just to draw a scenario, if you're a single mom, you got to work, you got no help from nobody else, and you navigating the world alone, but then you run into meeting a man, and you still want to be combative to the man, and be very masculine instead of being the feminine energy that you are in that equation, and then you want to blame it on the man because of your life that you have at that moment, which that man has zero authority or responsibility in. Don't you see the like the disconnect in that?
I think I can understand it from both perspectives, but what I want you to see is that you men in this conversation that you're shaping is that you've taken no ownership of making the woman understand that now in her current circumstance, you being this new fixture, you're coming in to support that, so that the need to be overly independent, overly self-sufficient, to create the world that she's created on her own is unnecessary, and that you can now grab those horns. I feel like it's your responsibility to introduce that in a trusting, loving way so that they
Well,
can do. And
but were you
men
supposed to do
can
that
do
after
that.
you just met at the day one after you just met, or is there some things where like
Well, I
it's a
think the
build
first
up
date is
or people
important.
got to, huh?
Oh, I think the first date, what happens on that first date is important. I'm gonna tell you. Let me tell you what. I'm gonna tell you what happens on that first date is important. So,
Okay, tell me how.
so my young daughter, right? Well,
Hmm.
she's not young. She's 22 now, but so there's certain things that are absolute deal breakers to her, and there's two girls that were raised like her. One of my good friend's daughters, and then another one of our friend's daughters.
Hmm. I think I'm
Two,
losing your audio.
three things on the first date.
It came in and out, but I hear you. Go back and come on, you back.
Am I back?
Hmm. Hmm. You back.
Am I back?
Yeah, you back. You're back.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, excellent. So there's
Hmm.
okay. So there's three things on the first date that she looks for. Okay.
Okay, tell me, what are they?
The first, the young man or the person she's dating open the door without
Okay.
question,
Hmm.
right? Do they open the door? Are they chivalrous?
Hmm.
Do they communicate with honesty? So, you know,
Hmm.
uh, the other young lady was at our house this weekend, and
Hmm.
a young man on their second or third date put a condom on the table, right? And the girl said, they were like, "What's that?"
Hmm.
And he said, "Well, I'm just letting you know that I'm well prepared." And their response was, "I don't sleep with my friends, and aren't we just friends right now?" That must put the condom back in his pocket, and
Hmm.
they enjoyed the rest of the afternoon, and it gave a level set. The third thing is how they talk about their family. So if they're like, my mom is some shit, my dad is some shit, those people are done. They don't
Mm.
even they don't
Mm.
even make it to the door. So those
Mhm.
things
Mhm.
are those first impressions, those first dates are very important. So now
Mhm.
that's just with
Mhm.
the 22-year-old who I'm still taking care of every damn thing. And there's not she's looking for something. So don't you think a 50-year-old is going to be looking for something for you to bring something to the table on that first date?
But I ain't dating no
Right
50-year-old.
now,
So first of all, that's like above my bracket.
Lord have
But I
mercy.
ain't dating no 50-year-old. But I would say no. I would say this,
That's a
that I
problem
think
in itself.
I. Well, I would say this. Ultimately, if you so let's just go there. Like, people at a more mature age, though, you have a higher expectation of them in terms of their emotional and mental IQ, don't you think? And their interaction in the relationship level. Like, you would think at this point in life that they got the ability to communicate and have good conflict resolution and all this stuff. So to do petty things like talk greasy to you, hang the phone up, act childish.
Right.
You wouldn't expect that from people that that aren't
Yeah.
kids
No,
anymore.
you
You know
because
what I mean?
that's attention seeking behavior. And but
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
when you encounter attention seeking behavior, you
hmm
have an opportunity to do something different. So what is
hmm
attention seeking behavior there? To gain your attention. Hanging
hmm
up, the signs of so you don't have to respond to that with attention, right? You can
hmm
respond
hmm
to that with this is not a meaningful way to get my attention. If you
hmm
need something
hmm
for me, I like to continue the conversation. But see,
hmm
what do most men do when they get hung up on?
What did they do? Because I do exactly what you said. I'm not engaging in that. If you hung the phone up, then that means that this ain't a good time to communicate and talk. And I ain't feeding into that. So I'll do
Okay.
exactly what you said. I ain't going back and forth on on things like that.
Well, I'd imagine that people who are using that type of behavior, it has worked in the past, or else
hmm
they wouldn't keep using it. So
hmm
I think
hmm
what most people do when they get hung up on is they then that start that robocall chain.
hmm
Where I'm gonna call
Power
you for
dialing, power texting, and power dialing and stuff.
power
No,
texting and
I don't
power.
do all that, man. You know what? Like you said, I don't do all that, and I also I also don't engage when people are try to communicate with you in a like positive way. You know what I mean? Like I'm not about to be calling you names and doing things like that. That's not that's not a good productive way of communicating. And what's the point on it?
Well, so it sounds like then you're around people who don't match your level of maturation, which could
Mm,
be because
hmm
you're dating people who maybe are not your same level of maturity or have not had the same experiences. So you got to take ownership for that. Why are you still swimming in the pond of people who aren't matching you in the way that you need to be matched?
So look, I have no problem taking ownership of everything that's going on in my atmosphere, right? Because like
The group chat is very proud of you.
I
They
don't think
said
a
you
man
before.
has I don't think men have no problem with being accountable.
Men have problems.
I feel like the
Men
problem
have lots
is
of problem with it.
women ain't matching the men's accountability. That's the problem. Like
You
say,
you are lying to yourself believing that most men, and if you really polled your male friends, like seriously, not your one or two close confidants who I would say y'all act more similar than different, but really take a poll. Women
hmm
are not using these tactics for nothing. So
really,
all
I agree.
power
I agree.
so because they work. So
hmm
they're power texting, power uh, calling
Dialing.
works for people. So they're doing it. And it's
hmm
almost an expectation. I've heard things like, you know what, a person don't like me. I felt like it was, really attractive because of the level of attention they gave me when I hung up or when I said I
hmm
was done and all of a
hmm
sudden they were back. So these are things that people are doing that have worked and have
hmm
worked for them.
hmm
So they're not doing them. I would say your male brethren are responsible for reinforcing that level of expectation.
Man, I see that. I see what you're trying to say, right? But yeah, there's some dudes that could fall into the category of simp and being simped, and they start like you say reinforcing that type of behavior or whatever. But yeah, I don't think men of any sort of value actually feed back into that kind of stuff because, like I said, it's not positive and it don't lead nowhere. But
It doesn't lead to positive things. So
yeah, it doesn't.
let's shift to how does that make you feel? Because I think we touch a lot on other people's behavior, but the group chat they want to know what your heart's saying. And so how does that make you feel when somebody hangs up on you?
Well, beyond just the fact that somebody hanging up on you, I think that if you care about someone, right? Let's just say if we care about our children, so they're easy. example to use. So if you have a conflict with somebody you care about, it never really feels good, and that negative energy and negative feeling has an impact on you. And even if it's a small cut in a small way, it has a very detrimental impact on you in several ways, even if it's just to bringing your mood down in the moment.
Yeah.
So I think like the thing, this is why I call it like women emotional terrorists and psychological terrorists, is that the intent is to do just that, to disturb, right? And not to so and they're playing on the fact that you do have some sort of loving, kind, compassion for them, right? And then that's why they acting all out crazy like this. But if you don't care, like, you indifferent, you don't care about it or whatever, it won't affect you in the same kind of a way. So I'm just saying all that to say that it's all relative to how how you feel about the person. And if you got any sort of care or concern about the person, then yeah, it's hurtful that a person do you that way, you know. But more so than that, it's just like when you start to perceive just the ways that a person shows you that they're not really in your corner. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And you had shared some things about your walk with your husband, and you had shared a moment when you were in college, and he had given you shirts he had just purchased, and whereas somebody else had just failed you in that sense of trying to get access to your clothes, right? But
Right.
and then you talked about falling down the steps, and then him just sitting there in the moment with you, and really being there with you inside of that moment, not making you feel like he had to go somewhere else or he was rushed or anything else was even any more important to him.
Right.
And so then I start looking at the you know things that people want of me that they're not willing to give at the same level back to me. So for instance, if I'm going through something like you guys seen where I had the shoulder surgery or whatever, right? And you know, not for nothing. Like I say, there's some people that are well intended and they offer to do something, whatever. And it's not that I needed it, but the fact is, let's just say, for instance, my own child, my daughter, when she comes to the knowledge that I have had that, where she's going to be a caretaker and caterer to other people, she won't even call me to ask me if how you doing? How's it healing? Do you need anything?
Wow.
Nothing. You know what I'm saying? So for all
Right.
these, so basically, but when people going through it on the other side, they want you to be all there for them.
Do the
You
same.
know what I mean? So these are little
Well,
ways they show you.
they do, and I think
Hmm.
interesting that you bring up more intimate relationships like your daughter, because the group chat really responded the last week when we brought up our sister,
Mm,
and they had some questions.
hmm.
So I said, um, they one of the questions was, why did you cut off brother and say you can't talk about that sister? And I said, well, we gonna address that next time in the Rose Garden. So you brought it up, so let's talk about that sister. And it's important. It makes sense here because there are always expectations in relationships.
Right, right.
Siblings, you and I, we have expectations in
Hmm.
relationships.
Hmm.
I expect you to treat me with dignity, respect. I also expect you to share uh, good times and bad times with me. So yes, every time I get married, which I'm not going to get married, hopefully ever again. But every time I'm
Right.
married, you're expected to be by my side. I want you at every celebration that my children have. We have expectations of each other. We also have conflicts. Inside of every relationship, there's conflict. There's conflicts in sibling relationships, there's conflicts in husband and wife relationship, parent and child relationships. I think what we do a good job of when we are younger is we cultivate how to deal with conflict in friendships. So, I think every child was raised to say, if somebody hits you, hit them back, right?
Hmm.
So we're
Hmm.
already doing those early lessons of conflict. with strangers, with people we self-select. But we don't do a lot of conflict resolution with people that we don't self-select, like a mother or a child or a sister in this case.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, like anybody else, we have conflict in our sibling relationship, and we've been, for those who don't know, there's three of us. We're all 11 months apart. My mom and dad just couldn't get enough of each other, it seemed.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and so we're very, very close in age. And for me, I always tell people that I have no recollection of my life without you all. None. But I'm sure, like you probably have some recollection when I wasn't around.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
our
Definitely.
our sister has a lot of recollection when you know they just kept adding people. She wasn't happy
Mhm.
probably about it. Um,
Right, right,
you
right.
you came and then another one came not
Mhm.
shortly after. Like she didn't
Mhm.
have a lot of time to rebound and adjust. And so I understand that. And then at the same time, conflict hit our small lives very quickly. I was not even two when our parents separated, and our parents didn't separate in a normal way. They separated in a hostile way. So, you know, because of that, there's a trauma bond that we all share, right?
Mhm.
Because the
Mhm.
separation, we didn't only get separated from one parent, we got separated from both parents eventually.
Mhm.
So the
Mhm.
thing that
Mhm.
was constant for us was us.
Yeah,
And I
that's
bring that
true.
up. Yeah, I bring that up because that
Mhm.
does change the
Mhm.
dynamic. Because in
Mhm.
some way, we didn't just get to be siblings.
Mhm.
You know, there was, somebody always caring for someone at some point, and
Mhm.
sometimes that wasn't the parent in the
Mhm.
situation.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so we didn't learn good conflict resolution skills with each other.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, I
100%
would say
agree.
we did not learn that. And I
Mhm.
think that because we didn't learn that,
Mhm.
we carried over a lot of the conflict resolution skills you may do with strangers
Mhm.
that we probably shouldn't have used with family. I think also because of our situation, we
Mhm.
didn't learn to communicate with each other in positive ways all the time. There was very
Mhm.
hostile ways
Mhm.
of communicating, especially when we were going through the adolescence and or that the
Mhm.
change, any transitional state where we didn't get our way.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
me and my brother have conflict with our other sister,
Yeah,
and
no doubt. No doubt.
and and that, and that conflict it has resulted in a pattern of separation where we don't speak. And it's
Mhm.
actually, brother, I don't know if you know this, but we're going
Mhm.
on year 5. You
Now I
know,
didn't know how long, but I mean, it seemed like so this is the thing, with with conflicts, right? So it's funny you mentioned the timing of it, because I feel like the reason why I think scriptures and all that stuff say that you shouldn't even let the sun set on a conflict, right? Because there's no day promise. You know what I mean?
right,
So the fact that it's like 5 years and a person has a willingness to allow it to draw on out, for that length of time or whatnot is a factor in and of itself. You know what I mean? And
right.
but you're right. I mean, we definitely are estranged, and we got the inability to reconcile. But it's to me, the it's just the orientation of intention again, because
Of
I heard our
intention
of intention because I heard our sister say that she was intending to hurt somebody. You know, I
in our
intended to
conflict,
do this, huh?
in our conflict.
Yeah, in our conflict, that she was
Okay.
intending to hurt someone, but she decided, but in her viewpoint, she's magnanimous because instead of hurting big, she hurt small. You know what I mean? So to me, I
Ouch.
feel I feel like that's a very I can't relate to that type of thinking, because if I'm disappointed in someone or whatever, I don't my intention is not to hurt them. It's to
Right.
resolve the conflict and to get on the same page. It's
But
like
you know,
this, for
we have
instance.
to be okay with the fact that, and I
Hmm.
appreciate you bringing that into this. A part of conflict of resolution is intention.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we have to be okay with is that there are going to be people that you
Hmm.
encounter that that's
Hmm.
how they choose to resolve conflict, harm. And if that's how the repetitive pattern that they've shown you, which I will say from my perspective, dealing with my sister, that's her repetitive pattern. Is she was okay with causing harm, whether
Mhm.
minimal, maximum, whatever. She was always okay in every
Mhm.
part of my relationship causing harm. When I was a kid, I didn't have an opportunity to push back from that. But
Mhm.
now I'm good and motherfucking grown. I got
Mhm.
my own kids, I got my own
Mhm.
house, I got grandkids.
Mhm.
I now know what is good for me. And
Mhm.
I will say, since everybody's so damn curious about like our relationship, I'm the one in our relationship that was like, nope, I'm out. And I'm the one who said that the parameters to be
Well, I don't
in.
know. I don't know if you was the one that say you was out because the thing where the whole wheel broke. I thought she put you on a sentence where
Oh no,
you were supposed to be
I got a life
exiled.
sentence. No, I
I
got a
thought
sentence of
you
exile.
got like a 2 to 5, right? You know what I'm
I
saying?
did.
You
I
could
got
get
a
out on two.
penitentiary term. I got wait. Okay, let me say. After her deliberate intentional her delivery of intentional harm, which was
Right,
to put
right.
me in penitentiary for 2 years, until the warden, decided I was out the penitentiary.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right.
I was the one that then was like, "No, no period of incarceration is fine for me." And in
Mhm.
matter of fact, I no longer am in this hula hoop game with you and your crazy ass. So
Mhm.
if this is how you're going to resolve it, instead of taking care of the truth of it, then I'm the one who then sucked myself out. But you're right. Initially, the application of intentional harm was to separate me from my family and my siblings. And why that's so detrimental in the real way is there's no people on this planet
Mhm.
that mean more to me than my
Mhm.
siblings. So like I said, and I'm talking to include our mother and our father. Like
Mhm.
I don't remember them in my life as consistently as I remember my siblings. And so
Mhm.
because I don't remember them for various reasons, I got an exceptionally gifted, beautiful mom. Like this is no indictment of her in terms of what my memories hold. But there is no one, no two people, and really y'all are kind of grouped in my memories. I don't, because I'm younger, it's like my sister and
Mhm.
my brother. So
Mhm.
there's just literally no two people on this planet that
Mhm.
arise in my early developmental memories stronger than the two of you. So
Mhm.
losing one of you is literally like losing a side of myself, you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
in a very real way. And so like it was very harmful. Like any desire to separate me from that is harming. And my sister knew it.
Mhm.
She's not a
Mhm.
dummy. So she
Mhm.
knew it. So she
Mhm.
didn't care in that
Mhm.
moment. And because she didn't care, it
Mhm.
the consequence for me was that was
Mhm.
harmful. But the choice I had in that was I'm pulling myself out of this matrix and I'm not allowing that to have any power.
No, I hear you on that. I mean, honestly, I see your point of view on that, and I could appreciate that, and I think that just at my part of the situation, again, it's like the orientation in your heart and your intentions. I realize like we can't take for granted that we got the luxury of time. You know what I mean? But this whole experience has been enlightening because even when you told me when you were going through another crisis with another close relationship, and you said it's always hurt you that our family is all right with not being connected with each other,
Hmm.
and you know e- even though that is true, and I could see the dysfunction in that. I never had really considered it in that type of a way, but it was just so profound in the way you put it. And I thought, from my part of it, it's like that's become such a norm to me. You know what I mean? Where uh, we not connected, or we disconnected from each other, or in truth, it just seemed like we don't mess with each other like that. And it does hurt. So honestly, to be straight real with it, we supposed to be. Like you said, the people that's supposed to be the closest to each other in life, or have each other's back, or be there for each other, and instead of having that, it's like these people are the source of the greatest pain.
Yep.
You know what I
But
mean?
that's emotional terrorism when
Yeah, that
someone
is.
actually open their mouths, which I gotta give my sister a lot of credit for something. She knows
Mhm.
she's evil, so she's said, I intentionally did it to cause harm. So I like there's certain parts about her I like where you know what she admits like her treachery. You know, like I'm all right with hurting you. And that's how she solves a lot of problems. It's not like she's not just all right with hurting me.
Mhm.
There's other relationships that she's hurt. You know, she'll throw some
Mhm.
shit in the dirt
Mhm.
and not care. And so that's just who
Mhm.
she is. And so
Mhm.
if that's who she is, you gotta
Mhm.
believe them. And
Mhm.
I am no longer at this age of the mind where because we are biologically and genetically connected to each other that we have to be harming each other. I have a really good friend who's going through a terrible time right now. She lost her mother. She lost her mom in a very long process of dying, and she and her sibling allowed her to do all of the grief along with and the work along with that. So now that mom has died, the brother is jumping up and down trying to interfere with the way the distribution of assets are determined, and that is causing so much drama in that family and so much
Mhm.
additional pain. I can't even tell, like, this is a fracture of my friend. And that level of harm is intentional
Mhm.
because what they're not attacking the fact that we both of us lost our parents. They're attacking my friend's character directly. You know, assuming that, oh, you just want to keep all of mommy's money. No, mommy already decided how she wanted to split her money up. She wrote it down and she gave it to me. Now you can come in and say, but I'm her son and I'm entitled to something. And yet all the grieving, all the caretaking was on one person's back. That's not fair. And
No,
so,
I totally agree. That's why, like, it's funny because you see that happening time and time again with families and all that when somebody is gone, and then the distribution of their assets and all this stuff happens. It's always conflict on it. That's why it's best to have these documented, wills and whatever your wishes are with your things, so that it could hopefully avoid these conflicts. But I still think people feel
conflict may
slighted.
ensue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Clapper said, because they might, let's just say, if I, like in this current situation that I'm in with my two children, where all my life, my whole living trust and will and all that stuff has been to give them 50-50 of everything, they split it up. But now in my current situation, I'm definitely more interactive in my son's situation than I am with my daughter. And I could see that
right.
my daughter has shown a lot of disloyalty to me in many different ways. So I think, I'm struggling at this present moment with the distribution of assets if things was to come happen to me. And
Right.
I would think that it would be more fair that that things would go to the side that I was personally closest with. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
It's your money. Of
yeah,
course.
well, to me,
It
like
is truly your
those
money. And
things
I
I
don't want
don't.
you to feel bad about that.
Well, I feel you, but I don't really care about it. Like the money, assets, and stuff. Because when our father passed away, right? Which
We
I
got
think,
robbed.
yeah. Well, I don't know what happened, but my whole thought process was this on that.
You know
Because
what happened. You're
I
just
don't
being
know. I
nice.
really don't know what happened because we wasn't really connected with our father like that. So I really
And I
don't
don't
know the
care.
detail.
I'm making a
I don't
joke
care.
about that.
I don't care
I don't
neither.
give a
But I'm
shit
just
either.
saying. I'm just saying that. But I wouldn't have wanted nothing from him, uh, like asset wise, because I ain't had that bond with him, in life. So why would I take anything from him in that way? You feel me?
I
So
think
like,
that's fair.
so it's funny because our uncle passed away recently, right? And
Right.
I was close to our uncle. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because our uncle actually you know has been there for me multiple times in my life situation, and I had deep, immense respect and love for him. You know, and I thought I look at the situation where he passed versus when our father passed. You know what I mean? And funny thing is that when our father passed, this uncle called me and was like, this might be the last time you get to speak to your father, whatever. I was like, but I'm good. I ain't got nothing to say. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
he was like, well, I just want to make sure that you be all right. Cause, I don't want you to be disturbed with not being able to, get some closure. And I'm like, nah, man, I'm good, man. You know what I mean? But then when he was on his last few days, and had the blessing to be able to see him and all that stuff, I'm able to look at the two scenarios and contrast them because, like, in the end of both lives, I don't get anything but the memories that I have of them, right?
Right.
And
Right.
whatever gifts that they were able to impart or whatever bad feelings was there, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I
Right.
say I don't want nothing from anybody that I actually love but the love. You know what I
Right.
mean? Yeah,
And that's a true
that's it.
statement. But
Yeah,
but
I
let me
want
say
that.
this. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you so I would absolutely agree with you. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't want anything from the because really like
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, the relationship, like I love our time together. Um, one of them scallywags you had in your life one time
Mm-hmm.
tried to tell you that I was watch your sister, she gonna take your money. First of all, I really want to take you from her, but
Mm-hmm.
but the enemy in her already saw that we had a close relationship, and so she wanted to burn that terrible discussion in your mind, like I want your money, and at any day I don't want your money. I want I want this. I want the conversations. I want what you offer me. I want our time. I love my brother. That's what I want. But when
Mm-hmm.
people tell you to plant those kind of seeds in your mind, you should be worried about them, what their intentions are, because they
Nah,
over there looking, counting your assets,
I
and that's
totally agree. I totally agree. But that's what, so like our father was a big part of the reason why we got an issue with our sister, right? So
why you say
because the reason why she wanted to put you on Alcatraz, you know what I mean, was because
my penitentiary.
she tried to put you in Alcatraz because it was a disconnect with our points of view on his interaction on our behalf for his mother passing, so our grandmother dying, right? And we weren't able to be at that funeral. None of us.
Correct.
Not her, not you, not me. And for different reasons, what I mean, me personally, I speak for myself. I did not want to go because of my father. And
And I would say that
I'm
was the
not
reason I did. That
yeah.
was on every time I went to the Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
I always got this feeling of
Mm-hmm.
dread because not
Mm-hmm.
because of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because quite honestly, I love my cousin Brian. He's
Mm-hmm.
another permanent. Like he used to walk around like a monkey when I was a little
Mm-hmm.
kid, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
laughed, and I loved
Mm-hmm.
hanging out with him in DC. Lance used to visit us. Him, Uncle Junior. They were like cool, like they were cool memories of that family. And
Mm-hmm.
I will say now, in my older adult life, I knew they loved me. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, I didn't think
Mm-hmm.
that some of the other ones did, but
Mm-hmm.
and even like my cousin Benny when we spent the summer together, like those are my dogs.
Mm-hmm.
But so it wasn't after he died that I understood why I didn't like going to Ohio or being a part of anything in that. And it was because every single time I was there was a possibility I'd have to run into him. And that always bothered me because
Mm-hmm.
when the few times we did, which I can count on both of these little big palms of mine, he did
Mm-hmm.
something fucking dumb. And I'm gonna tell you the first dumb thing he ever did. So because people don't know this, but you meet someone for the first time. I think we were like 12 or 13 or
But
something.
our
I was
mom
12.
dropped us up, but she
Mom
dropped us
dropped us
off in
off.
the middle of the night
Right, my crazy son.
at
And
this
so we
man's new family to do
right,
something at
crazy,
a
crazy
surprise. I'm
times.
like,
Nobody will
boy,
believe. So she
boy.
drops us off. We go to the stranger's house. Now again, the good thing is I have you, my sister, right? So we all in
Yeah,
this
we
shit
always
together,
experience this together. Yeah.
right? And this dude who's a chain smoker, who I didn't know that at the time, which I was raised in, to know that cigarettes was bad for you and stuff. Remember, I crushed Uncle James cigarettes trying to save his life, and I got a spanking. So
Hmm.
this man who's never met me really, never spent 2 days with me, never spent 20 hours, 20 minutes with me, offers me a cigarette. So then I gotta go call Grandma Rose and tell on his ass.
But see, but even though, right? Like I would say this, like Tupac got this song where he was like, my dad passed away, and my anger couldn't let me feel for a stranger or whatever. I was
Right.
like, for me, it's I understand my father now. I understand him more than but even though I understand him, it doesn't mean I excuse some of the choices and decisions he made, and no matter what, it affects the bond we have or do not have. You feel me? And I
Correct.
could own that. You know what I mean? As well, because let's just say, um, if I choose to not be a part of my anybody's life that's close to me, like including yours, like if I just separate for you from several years, there's going to be a lot of important things in that time frame that I'm gonna miss out on. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And we're going to lose the opportunity to really be more deeply connected. So unfortunately, between me and our father, like I don't have that deep connection with him because we never invested in that,
Neither.
right? But I do understand him now. Like as a
Well,
human being,
you've
you
taken the
know.
time to even understand why.
Mhm.
Like it just,
Well, as
again,
a
like
man, I just
understanding.
understand. I understand as a man because like certain things, like I would admit that, I was raised under the feminine consciousness. Like our grandmother was the one, that was the most influential person that developed me in the way I think
Right.
and feel.
Help me understand, like giving me a cigarette at 12.
Well,
Like
I
how
mean,
was that
so
even
my
like
whole thing is
helpful?
this: like right now, if he was nervous, right? So let's just say if I'm in that experience where when we met him at that moment in time, we was in the crisis. I don't know why our mom. I forget what the reason why
I
she
forget
dropped
what
us
the
off.
reason was
Yeah,
too.
but whatever it was, she was ready to drop these three kids off at this man's house, right? That he
Right,
had no
right,
he had zero preparation for that, right? And he was
right,
at
right.
the time we was there, he was already that whole family was in the bed. You know what I mean? We ain't even know. He got a new baby with a whole nother woman, and that woman had another son there, whatever. So he and his whole
Yes, yes.
family situation. If and I'm just imagining myself in that shoes, and I'm laying in the bed with my woman, that I have a family that I've just created a family with, and that other family I had has been way cut off, and I ain't never seen them for over a decade or whatever. Then all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, somebody rings the doorbell where I ain't even expected it. And then I come to the door and it's my kid, I would give him credit that he knew it was us. You know what I mean? I guess he figured it out. Like, damn, it's two girls and a boy. Like, damn, these
It's
my
some big
kids.
kids at the door.
And then he bring the kids in. And then the woman's like, what the fuck did y'all do? No, she can't be just dropping the kid. Like, that was a high stress situation.
It
You know what I
was.
mean?
It was.
But a man, he
Hey,
trying
there's
to
some kids
navigate
in our
that. He
family.
trying to be cool with that. Like, like y'all calm down. Let me keep this crazy woman made too. Shit, I don't know what you
Right,
do. Y'all, what
right.
y'all kids do? Y'all want to drink? Here go a 4 years. Like, hey, you want some vodka or something? Like, here, hit a cigarette. Shit, like this is a fucked up situation. Like, I could see why he did that. You know what I
Right,
mean? But
right, right.
that wasn't. You ain't
Well,
in
you
the
can see
headset
why.
of being a great parent at that time.
Right,
Like, it was a
right.
crisis for
You can
me too. You know what I mean?
listen. Let me tell you something. So we
Yeah.
just talked about everything that happens in conflict and a crisis. Nothing makes look. You just like I'm pulling out every situation. So you know what? That teaches me a lot about grace, because in that moment, it was just like that. It was chaos. It was like, what's going on? But I think the wisdom in what you said too was, which I take great pride in, and I know you do, is I'm never, when it
Damn,
comes to
your
my
audio
kids,
jumped
I'm
out. You
never
never what?
separating my parenting behavior.
You said you never separate your
I'm
parenting
never
behavior?
separating my parenting behavior
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
ever any
Mm-hmm.
always first. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I feel like I've done a great job of. Like I'm a good
Mm-hmm.
mom.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't always get every conflict right. I done spanked, my son, and I ain't never got a little tail, which she probably needed it, but she never
Mm-hmm.
had nothing her little tail fan. Because I
Mm-hmm.
was a better parent by the time that one rolled around. but I didn't
Mm-hmm.
always get it right. But I did my best job, and I think one of the lessons I think I learned from my dad is he didn't know how to always be a good parent. Now, I think when I listen to his legacy from other people's eyes, I can see how much he enriched their lives.
Yeah,
So
no doubt.
somebody who didn't enrich my life
Hmm.
can enrich other people's life. So that makes me at least appreciate that he made while his years on earth, he made a difference for somebody.
No, I
Now he didn't
totally
make a
agree.
difference.
I totally agree because I would say, like, for our situation, like another thing that I see in it is that he had zero control, over lots of aspects of, his interaction with us as his kids, because it's a difference between, like you said, when the impact that he could have on other people's lives, because I think, like, our lives, and it has they intersect with him, was always on a moment of crisis. You know,
Yeah,
it never was like a peaceful, sane, rational place for
right.
him to get involved himself. So, like, when you in crisis all the time, like, it ain't gonna bring out the best version of yourself.
Right.
So I
Well, but
feel
that's
like
on
that's.
him too. I think that's on him. Like he had to make some. But I agree with you
Mhm,
in terms of what was the reality. It was in
mhm,
crisis. Now, we gonna end this conversation on a funny note because
mhm,
not every part of his interactions with us that he selected was a crisis. Yet he still
mhm.
did crazy stuff.
Yeah,
So
right,
I'll
right,
tell you
right.
about my last memory, or the last time I led him close was
Mhm,
somehow he found out that I needed money when I was in college. I had
mhm,
lost. I don't know what, I didn't lose a scholarship, but I had lost some funding somehow, and
mhm,
he found out about it, which is interesting because I don't know how he found out about it, but he did, and he reached out to me and told me about this money that he could get from the military because he
mhm,
was in the military.
mhm.
So I'm needing this money, so I take him with me to there's a separate military kind of place to get your financial aid through the military. We filling out this paperwork, and this man turns around and salutes the man. And if I could have ran, like I was fast back then, if I could have ran the 100-yard dash and sprinted away from that motherfucker and been like, I do not know who this dude is. Because even in my young, dumb age, I knew somebody who's out of the military in the years that he had been out, don't turn around and salute somebody who's in a uniform. But this fool was saluting them. Then fast forward that to like a month and a half later, I get a letter from the federal government that said I attempted to defraud the federal government because the person who had the members military membership was damn near dishonorably discharged and was not eligible for any military benefits. I
Well,
called him up and said, when I tell you, first of all, I called Grandma Rose and Grandma cussed his ass out. Then I called him myself and said, never ever embarrass me like that again and leave me out of your shenanigans. So that was
but
like the
see,
last
but you know
amount
what?
of
But
time we
but I would say, like, in that situation though, like, the intention was to benefit you, was to help you, right? So what he was trying to do with his capabilities and resources at that time was to solve a problem for you, which is what all men want to do. So it's funny you say that about him, because I know, like, from your perspective of it, that was an embarrassing situation. And I think, it's important for a child to be able to look at the channel from which they come from, and have some way of having reverence for and honoring that, and respect for it. And I think that in our position with him, it's really difficult to find those points, because he never really was elevated in a positive light in our eyes. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna say this though, the experience that I had with him, one of the last experiences I had with him, again, is it like illustrates where he's trying to do something meaningful, but he just got no control over it. You know what I mean? And situation where it comes to where he lacks the control, it like just goes awry. And I would
yeah,
say that some of it does have something to do with, the actions that he's doing beforehand. But let's just
right.
say, I'll just share it with you really quickly. So, what happened is, he was married to, his last wife, the one from Ohio that, you know, um, I don't want to just put her name on blast on her, but
Got
he
you. I
was
got
married
you.
with
I'm with
her,
you.
and she and he was in the DC area, and me and him rode up to Ohio together. So that was a long stretch, like 8 hours or so. It was just me and him in the car riding together up there, and we were supposed to stay at his wife's mother's house. So we get to the door, and but it's kind of late because we rolled through the night and we got there late, and so his wife and her mom was ready for bed. I mean, even his wife had, how y'all black women do, got rollers on and bullshit, mask on, looking crazy and shit. so so we go to the door, and the wife's mother was tripping because she didn't know me. You know what I mean? She wasn't familiar with me. So she was like, no. Telling our father, like, no, y'all niggas can't stay here. Like, you know what I mean? She like, I don't know this nigga. She talking about me, right? I don't know
Right,
this nigga. And like, no, y'all motherfuckers can't stay here because it was only those two women in the house. You know what I
right,
mean?
right,
And
right.
she ain't want to take the risk our father was mad because he was like, this is my son. You know what I mean? And but the problem in that situation was the woman of the house didn't, she ain't respect his credibility. So she didn't believe that I was his son. And even if I was his son, I guess the thought process she had of him at the time, it wasn't safe for us supposed to stay there. You feel me? So he lost control of the situation, and it was a bet. And so I know in his because he lost his mind, you know, in that joint. He was really
Hmm.
hurt, really angry, really disappointed. And what we ended up doing was we went to Uncle Junior house, and he vented there. It was ready to act up, and Uncle Junior was like trying to diffuse it. And then me and him decided we gonna just come back to the DC area. So we had rode like 8 or 9 hours, and we turned back around, rode 8 or 9 hours back. And that
Wow.
man vented the whole time in the car coming back. He was just talking. He's like talk. He was. That's how blown he was. You know what I mean? And in that in
Right.
that in that joint, I think like he was so hurt off that because for many different reasons. But like he was upset at his wife for not um taking charge and override. But I was like, how could she? That ain't her place. That's her
Right.
mother's place.
Somebody else's house.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so she couldn't like really force that joint. But like he was just upset because I think he knew that the relationship he had with me was estranged, and he just got embarrassed in front of me, and we got displaced, and he had no control. And as a man, that had to be a terrible feeling. You know what I mean? So
Well, it's
I
good to
feel
it's
it,
good to know. It's good to know that he, that we can look at it through different lenses. And I
Hmm.
think it's helpful for people to also see that families can have conflict. I feel like that this is a meaningful discussion because I don't get
Hmm.
opportunities to learn about him through other people's
Hmm.
lenses, and
Hmm.
usually I shut it down. So I
Hmm.
appreciate you sharing that, and I
Hmm.
hope that folks who keep asking all these stupid questions in the group chat, uh, you know, understand that families can have conflict. My family, my brother's family, isn't immune to it. We're human, and the distance that we put is healthy for ourselves. And hopefully, everybody recognizes that distance, even with family, is healthy when somebody's not good for you or got toxic behavior patterns. Um, so that's why there's only two of us. Right now in the Rose Garden, but there's
Hmm.
plenty of love in the Rose Garden, and I think that's what I understood about being raised by my grandmom. One thing for sure now is I'm a grandmother to two
Hmm.
little boys who I'm proud of, but I don't want to take care of them full time. My grandmother had to take care of us
Yeah.
full time in her 60s. And I'm not in my
Hmm.
60s. I got,
Hmm.
more energy, but honestly, I think grandma had more energy than anybody.
Yeah, she did. Yeah,
Um,
she was feisty even at that time,
She was
for
a
sure.
feisty little thing, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that sacrifice. And so,
Hmm.
because of her
Hmm.
sacrifice, I'm
Hmm.
able to display some resilience, and I'm
Hmm.
also able to understand how much you can love something that you didn't create because
Hmm.
you know
Hmm.
being a grandparent and then being a grandparent who has to become a caregiver,
Mhm.
she is taking responsibility for something she ain't have no pleasure in making. She didn't have no
Mhm.
decision.
Mhm.
It wasn't
Mhm.
her decision. None
Mhm.
of that was any of her choice, but
Mhm.
she gladly opened her arms in the way that she could. And also her husband, who was a
Mhm.
new husband at the time,
Yes, exactly.
relatively new,
Mhm.
acquired all these kids 11 months
Man,
apart.
one
Who,
turned into four. Hey, he thought he was just getting one a woman. He got a woman and three kids. That means
a
like
woman with
so
three
a house that
kids.
used to be just one person occupied became five. You know what I mean?
Right, right,
Yeah, that's
right.
sacrifice and love. I
And
appreciate
he loved us
that.
tremendously.
How
Like
did
there
you
was
know
a
it? How did you know it?
I'm gonna tell you how I knew it because
Mhm.
he took me, he won, the day we got there, remember Saber knocked me down and scratched my
Mhm.
face.
Mhm.
And he took me over the next day and to meet the dog and was like, "You're gonna be here." Remember? And I was like two. I think I turned two in their house. So he took me over, and the dog was a lot bigger, and I was scared of the dog. But he had my little finger in my hand and was like, "No, go meet Saber. And Saber got to do what you tell him to do." And so that
Mhm.
was the day, like the day after I met him. And then I used to dance to Elvis on his feet. He used to take me to the Miss Brent store and give me all the
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
change, and I got all the candy I could eat. He paid us
Mhm.
to hide his beer from grandma. Uh, and that man
Mhm.
dropped us off and picked us up at school every day. And he was in our play. Remember that? He was
Mhm.
in the
Mhm.
play.
Mhm.
So he showed us love, took us to church, didn't let nobody bother us, but we would, we broke his stuff sometimes.
And it's funny because I was telling people that for as siblings, there's a lot of things we don't agree on, but we definitely agree on the fact of what our grandmother was to us, and then also what he was to us, and that he actually loved us, and we all know it, even though he never said those
Never said,
words. Yeah,
yeah,
so it's just amazing to me how we able to feel that,
yeah,
from him,
yeah.
even though he never expressed it. So like it's cool, I'm just
Yeah,
glad you
it was
cleared
cool.
that
And I'm
up.
so happy to be in the Rose Garden.
Mhm.
And we invited Uncle James to the Rose Garden for the first time.
Yeah, I
He
know
has
we
never
did.
been
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
So, all right,
yeah.
quick question from the group
Mhm.
chat that
Mhm.
everybody wanted to know about you. I love the
Mhm.
group chat has no
Mhm.
question other than the sibling question. They don't never have no questions for me. So y'all can send some messages to me and ask me some questions too. But they had a question about when you're when you said that you tell women lies for their benefit. They said, do you consider yourself a liar? So you can
No,
close
so
that.
let me ask you this question. The hell
Oh,
no, I
no,
do
no,
not.
no. You can't ask a question with a question.
Yeah, hell no, I do not consider myself a liar. But I think this, because big up the West. Yeah, I really appreciate you, brother, because we talked about this week, and we came to this revelation on things with women.
Okay.
Because women's life is y'all live in a whole different world than we do, right? And what me and my brother concluded, what I'm saying, when we got this epiphany is that women are like children in the way that y'all want to be communicated with. So like right now, I remember my daughter, she used to like watch Cinderella a lot and stuff. And when I would play with her and stuff, you know how like you might have Barbies or something, and like how me and you was Ralph and Susie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that ain't my real name. That ain't your real name, but we playing Ralph and Susie. So it's like that with a woman. When you walk into a situation, you're like, am I Xavier today or am I Ralph? You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm Ralph. So we playing Ralph and Susie right now. Okay, cool. So I communicate to them in just in the way in the fantasy that they want to be in at that time. You
So
know what I
so
mean?
so
So
again,
like right now, like
you
let's
away
say
from
like
the group chat question. You
no,
don't
no, no. I'm telling you I'm saying hell no, I don't be lying to motherfuckers. But I would
you
say
said you
this.
don't consider your wait, you said you did. You
Hell
said
no, I don't
I
consider
lied
myself
to
no
them,
lie.
but
I
you
don't
don't
consider
consider yourself. We gonna
nope.
have to
But I
unpack
would
this.
say this though. If let's just say one of my other brothers, and I don't want to out him, so I ain't gonna say his name.
Lord
But
have
he
mercy.
but he told me that um, his girl asked him, what he was thinking about at the time. Right. And the honest truth, he said he was fantasizing about two other women at the time when she asked him that. But he knew that ain't the type of answer. He knew if he answered that kind of way, 1,000% that was going to send the thing off the rails, right?
Yes,
So
it
he
would.
ain't. So he couldn't tell her the truth, and that bothered him because he said, you know what, it ain't my nature to be bullshitting, and it's this something to my character. It just hurt me that I couldn't tell her the truth of what I was actually really thinking. You know what I'm saying?
Why do
So
you
that
think that is? Why do you think? Because there is some, again, we went to intention and all. There is something inherently wrong about someone spending time, even in their mind, with other people when they're presently involved with someone else. And that's a big part of what my self care retreat is about. And the
I
organization
feel
is
you on that. I feel
we
you
were
on that.
present in the moment with the people that we're serving and the
Hmm.
organizations that we're shaping. And we as humans, for whatever reason, like to get lost in other things. And so we
Well, let me
don't
ask you
have
this
to
question.
give ourselves that time.
Well, just on the lines of what you're asking me, you know, women don't ask you stuff because they want to know the truth, and men know
That is
this.
not true.
Like right
See,
now, like if a
these are
woman looks
terrible
like when
aspects
you
of
when you
behavior.
when you came on here, you had the thing on your head. You like, what you think about that thing? Not that thing looked terrible to me, but I can't tell you that.
Why
You
does
don't want
this
you don't want
look
me to
terrible?
you don't want me to tell you that.
I
Like
want the truth.
a woman will look
I
at
want
you
the
and say,
truth.
"Look, how does this dress look? Do I look fat?" And you might be looking, like, "Yeah, you look fat. Hell yeah, you look very fat." You don't, you can't tell her that. You have to be like, "Oh yeah, that dress look nice on you." But I like the other dress. Like, do the other dress, because and I like the other dress but you can't tell her the truth about it, because like, you can't. It ain't about like I don't think women be wanting the truth sometimes. You know what I mean?
Well, you know
They
what?
want,
The group
you
chat
know,
will have lots to fire back on about the delusion that you tell lies, but you're not a liar.
yo,
Okay, okay, group chat,
I
do
ain't tell.
your thing.
I said I
Do
ain't
your
telling
thing.
lies. I'm just playing my role in the fantasy that they want to have. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, hey, you ain't looking fat in that dress. No, that
Well,
little
I
thing
want
you
you.
about to
Listen,
wear, that bonnet or whatever that thing is, you about to wear to bed. It don't matter. You ain't got no kind of matching stuff. Like, yeah, it's cool. It's all right. That don't bother me. And in
well,
my
so you
mind,
know,
like, man, you need to take that off. You know what I mean?
I don't care what you think about the hair wrap. This shit right here is sexy. All right, till next time. I'm gonna see
All
y'all
right.
in the rose garden. Any lasting words, my brother?
Nah, man, just giving peace and love and harmony to everybody out there.
Absolutely, y'all be y'all do not listen to this man. His
Hey.
advice is terrible. I'll see y'all next time in the group chat. Bye, brother.
All right then. What?